What's good, gods and goddesses? Your boy Hollywood AJ back with another episode of the Keep It 100 YouTube channel. Last week, I didn't give you my weekly show of what's going on in the NBA. There was a ton of games going on with the NBA season in full swing. I had to bring it to you this week. These are the NBA current events of this week. I want to start with the Jokic suspension now. Obviously, he's back. He was suspended after the Nuggets game against Miami on Monday night. They blew out Miami. Miami's been on a skid. More on that later. But ever since that game against Miami, we saw Morris came in as Jokic was looking to pass. Morris came in and hit him right in the ribs, which was warranted a foul, obviously. Then Morris turned his back, and Jokic came and decked him from behind with his shoulder and snapped Morris's head back. Jokic was extremely sorry for the situation, but his brothers were not. And not only was the Morris brothers not sorry, they were actually inciting a fight with the Jokic brothers. Now, I can never tell which is which. I think it was Markieff that caused it, because Markieff was the one that won a championship with the Lakers back in 2020. But nonetheless, both of these guys, both of the Morris brothers, are considered dirty players. So for them to do this somewhat of a dirty play, I'd say it's dirty play. I would definitely say it's a cheap shot. When a guy has both of his arms in the air, he's more susceptible for a rib shot, right? He can break his rib. He can really knock the wind out of him, and he can hurt Jokic in a very bad way. So, as I just said, they're notorious for acts like this, for dirty plays like this. So, in my mind, Jokic had every right to do what he did. The more I watched it, the more I saw it, the more it just warranted a great response from Jokic. At first, I'm like, oh, Jokic, come on. Why'd you do that? Seriously? But let's not forget, Jokic isn't that type of guy. This was way out of Jokic's character for him to do something of this magnitude. We're used to seeing Jokic take the high road 99% of the time. But this time, he said, and I quote, "I had to defend myself." I'd say this was a perfect time against a better player, against a guy that is notorious for doing this. So I'm not sad about the suspension. I am sad about the suspension, but I'm not sad about Jokic doing what he did, is what I'm trying to say. But nonetheless, Nuggets took care of business. The Heat have been on a skid. They lost to the Nuggets. They lost to my Lakers in a crazy game. The Lakers, they're a different story. They're definitely a team that isn't living up to expectations. And we are about almost a month into the NBA season, which started back on October 18th of this year, 2021. And many people expect that with this being a super team, that these guys would mesh very well. Those guys being Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony has been balling, all right? He is hitting the third wind of his career. I felt like he hit his second wind of his career in Portland, but his third wind of his career is now in LA. He is just providing quality minutes, providing outstanding shots. Look at the game against Charlotte on Monday. That was an amazing and huge victory that we needed. But still, Russell Westbrook isn't the type of player that we're accustomed to seeing him as. I mean, his days of getting triple doubles are still there, but he's averaging about over 5 turnovers a game, which is truly unprecedented coming from a guy that made the top NBA 75 player list. I mean, that's just unheard of. LeBron, I know he's, taking some time off to give Russ his confidence, but when is too much time enough time, right? They got a game tonight against the Timberwolves, which they should win, but knowing the Lakers, it's going to be a tough game. They might go into overtime like they have the last 2 nights. The Miami game, though, I was very scared of because we didn't have LeBron and because we were struggling so bad. But it was a huge, huge victory, right? It's huge. I look at teams like Miami, not anymore. I look at teams like Golden State. I look at teams like the Clippers. I look at teams like the Suns that are going on these 5-6 game winning streaks, whereas the Lakers, they're on a 2-game win streak. But at the start of the season, they should have had a 8-1 start, at least a 5-3 start. You know what I mean? We're about 12 games into the season. We should at least be 8-3. I say 8-3. The loss against Phoenix was warranted. Loss against Golden State, first one's always the toughest. But I feel like the Lakers should have the record that these other teams have, and that's what I guess is really frustrating to me. But then what I see these teams do to the Lakers is that, we saw the Heat do it. We saw the Hornets do it. They move the ball against the Lakers. The Lakers don't really do that. You see 5, 6, 7 passes each possession from the teams that play the Lakers. The Lakers are 1 and done, 2 and done, 3 and done. You never see players that wide open. Of course, you got Lob City, but you never see pass, cut, wide open, or pass, cut, kick out, wide open 3. No, it seems like every shot the Lakers take are extremely contested, or are just, flat out bad shots. And Russell Westbrook the other night against Miami, he could have got a better shot than that. I would have given it to Carmelo or even Anthony Davis, someone who is a better three-point shooter than what Russell Westbrook is. And who knows, maybe we wouldn't even have had to go into overtime. But for the Lakers, their struggles, it's still somewhat early in the season. As I mentioned, we're not quite a month into the season yet. But the struggles that they're having are truly warranted. The struggles that, that need to be cleaned up, they're easily fixable. Russell Westbrook made 2 of the most clutch shots I've ever seen him make in his entire career against Miami. He had a elbow jumper that was nothing but net, and a turnaround fadeaway that was LeBron James-esque. That was just something that we've seen LeBron do many, many times, but Russell Westbrook took the mantle and made that shot that helped seal the victory. So again, Russell Westbrook and the Lakers need to just take care of the ball. And most importantly, I feel like they need more ball movement in their offense. Other than that, they're going to be just fine. Just fine. Their defense isn't where it needs to be. I saw some wide open layups, not only in the Charlotte game, but in the Miami game as well. But other than that, their defense needs to get better. So that's 3 things that the Lakers definitely need to tighten up. If they still have these struggles around the All-Star break, then I'm going to be a little bit worried. But as of now, I think we're fine. I think we're going to put a great string of wins together, and we're going to come forward and completely dominate the West. The Bulls have been a surprise team of the East, though. I mean, let's face it. The last time the Bulls were probably a dominant team like this was obviously back in 2017 and 2015. But since in the Jordan days, they haven't been this exciting, all right? I had them being in the play-in game or at most the 7th seed when the season first started, but now, sorry about that. I don't know what I just did. Flicked my pen out. But other than that, I have the Bulls being about a 4th seed or a 3rd seed, all right? These guys are balling out of their minds. Alex Caruso is leading the league in steals. Lonzo Ball is coming into his own, shooting threes the way he should have been shooting in LA. I mean, DeMar DeRozan is doing what DeMar DeRozan does. He's doing what he's done in Toronto and San Antonio. I mean, they're a complete team. I know Vucevic is hurt. He's going to miss a few games, but they still have the caliber. They still have the bench, and they still have the players enough for them to win enough games. Now, you also have the Wizards, who are probably the most shocking team in the East as well. They're doing good, in the likes of Kyle Kuzma and Bradley Beal. Montrezl Harrell's been averaging better numbers than he has in LA on both LA teams, I might add. So they're definitely a surprise team. As far as down the road goes, I don't really see them doing all that much. They might, win their first round series. That is if they're still the number 1 seed. Still very early. Things can happen. Seeds can be overtaken by bottom level teams or teams that weren't ever in the top 8 before. But the Wizards are doing, I think, what they're supposed to be doing. And I just, see them being another team, a la the Jazz. More on them later. The Heat have been having some struggles, like I mentioned. They started on a blistering 7-3, and all of a sudden, they're losing games. They lost to the Nuggets. They lost to the Lakers, and they lost to the Clippers. I think it's just one of those bad spells that a team is going through. You see that the Heat aren't really meshing too well, I would say. I mean, Tyler Hero is an early candidate for 6th man of the year. But as far as that, they're on a road trip. I would just say they're in a dry spell. They're going to be in the playoffs no matter what, in my mind. They're a very different team with Kyle Lowry. Jimmy Butler sprained his ankle. He'll be back no time. It's not the playoffs where he's going to miss the rest of a series and that could impact something. No, Jimmy Butler will be back and he'll be doing what we're accustomed to seeing Jimmy Butler doing. But I think the Heat will be fine. I think they just have to, find their rhythm back. They had it before, having a heartbreaking loss to the Lakers. They're going to bounce back. They're going to get a few wins for sure. I just want to get back to the Bulls and the Wizards. You got former Lakers on both of those teams, and I think the main reason why we see them balling out is because they don't have the pressure of playing under LeBron. Now, the environment around playing with LeBron is somewhat variance if you ask anybody. It's a different variant if you ask, Kevin Durant per se. The environment may be toxic. I think it's more toxic with Kyrie Irving, but whatever. Different conversation for a different day. I think with LeBron being the best player in the world, the burden of playing with that man is just so heavy that you almost do too much or you almost do too little. You don't make the passes that you need to, and you don't make the shots that you need to make. Kyle Kuzma was making everything in the bubble. Alex Caruso was making everything in the bubble. I mean, that was when they had actual championship aspirations. But then in the playoffs, AD went down, and then we see, okay, Caruso and Kuzma are going to have to step up. Trez as well. Trez didn't really play, though. I feel like that's a different, situation. He didn't play. He didn't get to show off his full skills. They played him a lot on the Clippers, and that's how he became sixth man of the year. I just feel like if Frank Vogel played him a lot more, he would have gave us better quality minutes, even though he didn't play up to par. I just think that just ruined his whole game, ruined his whole mantra, things like that. But now it seemed like when Davis went down in the playoffs last year, these guys were nowhere to be found. So I just feel like guys like Caruso and Kuzma are somewhat playing more freely, playing like, okay, if I mess up, I'm not going to have LeBron looking at me. Or if I mess up, I'm not going to have LeBron putting me on the bench for a number of minutes. So I think that's the biggest key as to why we see these former Lakers in the East balling. I'm going to wrap it up with this. The Golden State Warriors. I mean, they have one of the best records in the league, all right? 10-1. I don't even remember who they lost to. If you want to tell me who they lost to, go ahead and tell me in the comment section, because I could look on Google, but I'm just not that concerned about who they lost to. They've had one of the easiest schedules in the NBA, though. Opening night to the Lakers, okay, we were dysfunctional. We were still trying to figure ourselves out. Meanwhile, the Warriors, they've been playing with each other for the past 3 years, so they should have won that for sure. But playing against the Timberwolves and the Pelicans and the teams that they should beat, Steph is dropping 50 a night, as he should, against not such high-caliber teams. I still have them as my pick of being in the Western Conference Finals, especially with Klay Thompson coming back. But here's the big, I don't know if caveat is the right word in this situation. I would say here's the big factor of this entire Warriors situation is that what is Klay Thompson going to look like when he comes back? Let's not forget the last game he played was Game 6 of the 2019 NBA Finals, where he tore his ACL, and he was planning on playing in this upcoming past season, but he tore his Achilles. So 2 heartbreaking injuries from Klay Thompson that took away, I think, the best years that he's had. Although coronavirus wasn't a thing when Klay Thompson played last, how's he going to look? I'm not saying, COVID is going to play a big factor in his return, but how is he going to look? He hasn't been in the league for that long. And I think it'll take him a bit to get his beak wet. And then I'd say around April, May, because he's rumored to come back around December. I say around April, May, we're going to see the old Klay Thompson when the postseason begins. So like I said, I still have them as being my Western Conference Finals pick. They're going to be in there with my Lakers. But, as far as Stephen A. Smith saying that they're going to win the title, I do not see that. Not one bit. We've seen great regular season teams crash and burn in the playoffs. The Jazz are another one. The Jazz have one of the best records in the West. I'm not scared of them one bit. I don't care who they play. They're not getting past either the first or second round in the playoffs. The Jazz could win the rest of their games, and they're going to find a way to choke in the playoffs. I forgot to mention them in my first video talking about the opening of the season, but no matter what the Jazz do, they're just going to find a way to fall short in the postseason. But the Warriors, like I said, they're going to be in the Western Conference Finals, but they ain't going to make it to the NBA Finals. That's where Lakers, by that time, they're going to be all matched up well. They're going to be a totally different team, and we're going to see the Showtime Lakers back. So just fun time to be an NBA fan. You have games every night. You don't know what to expect. That's what I love about this sport. And I'm just truly blessed to be here, watch all the games, and discuss them here with you guys. Please give me a like and subscribe. Comment on what's your surprising take from the first few weeks, first month of the entire NBA season. Let me know who your favorite team is. Let me know who your favorite player is. Whatever you do, just comment. And most of all, stay blessed, stay safe, stay healthy. As always, keep it 100. I'm out.